Good evening, Daf Samach Bab Amud Aleph. We are continuing in the Mahloket whether or not a change the item is enough to change possession of the thief, to make it that the thief acquires it. We're in the middle of the Beraita between Mahloket between Rabbi Alai and Rabbi Chanina. And we're going to bring up a question now. Adkan Lopligi, the only part of the Mahlok between Rabbi Alai and Rabbi Chanina is the Morsavar Shinui Kaneh. Rabbi Alai holds that the change from a lamb to a calf, so the lamb or a calf to a ram or ox, that's enough of a change to make it for the animal to belong to the thief. But more so about ancient Nukunan, and we can know how it doesn't work. But regarding the payments, which is what we were talking about, Kula Ahmad Maker Shalani already agrees that you pay according to the original value at the time of the stealing, because the Brett said, Mishlam to Shlim Kev to Shlim Abba Hamija, Kain and Ganav, you pay at the time of the value of the stolen. Then to have to Rav, it's a question against Rav. That Marav, Keren, and Shaganav Mishlani pay the principal when you steal it. And you pay the 4 or 5 of the time you get sued. But I'm questioning against Rav. The more I answer it though, when you're paying 2, 4, 5 of the lambs, you're paying what originally was Damim Kishalach Shav. So when you're paying it back with an animal, you pay the original price. If you're paying cash, you pay what the current value is now in court. Shinui Konen. Change of the item is a of an item to be a kinyan is a deoraita. How do you know Ktiv Tinenat in the pasuk and the Mishnah? Ktiv the pasuk says veheshiv et hagezela asher gazal. You shall return the stolen item that you stole. Not to asher gazal that you stole. So, of course, the stolen item. Period. I'm not saying that he stole. In shigazal, if it means that you're returning it the same item that you returned, the same exact thing, nazir, you shall return it intact. The imla, but if it's not, if it changed, that means ba'alma ba'yishmi, just to pay back the value. So you know that with Braita as well. How goes that? It's in ba'asan kalim, someone stole wood and made it into utensils. Similar to ba'asan because they stole wood and made it into clothing. Mishnah kishtizla, you pay the value of when it was made, of stolen. And I mean, another thing is, another sugya we see in regarding the hilachot of if you're the first time you share the animal's wool, you have to give it to a kohen. So in the case of lo hispil to know Allah so if you managed to dye it before you gave it to the kohen, patur. Amash kohen, we see a physical change changes the possession of the owner, and therefore he's patur from giving it. So now Gemara says another continuation of what changes property ownership. Yeush, despair, right? We want to talk about it for many dapim. If someone finds or steals something and the person gives up, that is a transfer of ownership. So if you find something and you know the guy had already given up, you can keep it. I'm read about on the nickname. How come you say it's enough to acquire something of the item that was stolen if the guy gave up? But we don't know. We don't know if it's a din doraita that you acquire it after the guy gave up, or drabanan, or if it's drabanan that you acquired after he gave up. So now, why we're not sure? Because if it's a coin doraita, mid have a motzi avada, something as finding a lost item. Motzi avada, when you find something, it's lost. Lav kevin demiash maramine make my teded lede kanale. Because once the owner gives up finding it, before you find it, then you find it, you acquire it. Right? You find the money on the floor, no siman for money, automatically acquiring because the owner gave up. And I mean, in this case, is the thief as well. Once the thief, the owner gives up, the thief acquires it. Almas ktani. Therefore, we see it's even the right. Odima maybe lo damia lavde. You can't compare it to the lost item. We had this concept before. When you're finding an item, you didn't do anything wrong. It's coming into your possession with in a mutar state. However, regarding the stolen item, came into since you're stealing it, it is Rabbanan that the owner gives up, makes you acquire it because we hold of a certain reason why you shall be able to acquire it from the Ush by a stolen item. What does that mean? If I steal your item and I use it, and then I want to do teshuvah. Now the problem is, I have to return the exact same item. I might not be able to, whether I use it as a beam in my house. Now I can't break down my house. I won't want to return it. Rip out the beam out of my house. I don't want to do that. Or whatever the item is, if it's used up and I can't give it to you as is, then the person who wants to teshuvah will want to do teshuvah. So we see Midrabanan, Torah says, Don't worry about it. You acquired it. Pay the guy back cash. But this is what Rabbi says, Yeush does not let you acquire it, even in a binman. That's a question to Rabbi. Someone stole Hametz and Pesach passed over. Turn the page. Beep. Samach Vav Amud Bet. The thief can tell the owner, here's your item back. Ha, enjoy. Even though it's Chametz Shabbat Pesach. V'hai, now in the case of the Chametz, given the Mata Ida Nisra, once Hametz Pesach arrived, the owner obviously gave up because he doesn't want it anymore. If you hold that Yeush is Koneh, if you hold Yeush makes me Koneh, and the guy who stole it should have acquired it because the owner gave up once Pesach arrived, and therefore he doesn't pay him back cash. How can you return back the item as is? Where it says, good answer, my leg, Kikami. Now, when do we say that the owner's Yush makes the thief acquire it? Only only when the guy wants to keep it. Like in the case of a random item. Hi, but over here in the garden of Hametz, the owner that gave up and the thief doesn't want it as well, therefore he doesn't acquire it. I have a question for the Ba. Korbano, the Pasuk says, if you have a korban olah that is your korban. It excludes that you can't use a stolen korban. If it's referring to where you stole the animal and the thief made it hekdesh before the guy had yush. Of course, you can't use it, it's not yours. Maybe he made it hekdesh after yush. We see that yush is not enough to make you acquire it. Good question. According to that concept, I could prove to you that's not how we think. Because Mishkavo, if a zav who touches a couch will make it tameh. The couch tameh, right? When the zav lies on the couch, he does not make it tameh if the couch is stolen. What's the case of the stolen couch? Even with the gazal amra avdei mishkav, if you talk about a case where he stole a unfinished couch and then he made wool and made it into a beautiful new couch, then everybody would agree that you changed the whole thing, you made it into something else. Of course, you acquired it, and of course, it's your couch, and you of course would be tameh. It's your couch now. What's the pasuk referring to? You stole your friend's couch. So to over here in the garden of the korban, you stole your friend's korban. You stole your friend's korban, and therefore you can't use it as your korban. Not that you made it hekdesh before or after use. No, he already made it a hekdesh. He already made it as a future korban, and you stole it then. That you can't use. Not come back what some people will be. They'll want to steal someone else's korban to bring it as a korban. Okay. I'd say I asked Rabbi Yosef. In the case of hides that belong to somebody, the thought, literally the thought that counts, makes him tuma. Right? So in general, in a kli that is not finished yet, still has work to be done, cannot become tameh. However, if in your mind you want to keep it as is, whatever stage in the process you're making it into something, if you say, okay, that's all I want to do, that's as if you finished the last bit of work, and now it's already a kli. So, machshava, the thought that counts, the thought of not needing any more malacha, not needing any more work, can make it ability to get tameh. B'shel avdam, regarding to the hides of a tanner, in machshava does not his thoughts don't make it tameh because he's not the one who's doing it. Right, he's selling it. Shlaganav, regarding a thief, he makes it tameh, his thoughts. Shlagazlan, regarding to another robber, in his thoughts do not make it tameh. Right, because if he's taking stuff, if he's robbing stuff quietly, the people will try to get their stuff back, and therefore there's no yush. Bishman switches it. Shel Gazlan regarding Gazlan, Mashal Gazlan is Tameh by Gazlan, and Mishal Ganab in Mashal Gazlan does not make information. The fish is only that because the owner did not make yush, which Mamina and yush cannot. Therefore, we see, regardless of who you own, like, but we see the concept of yush is alive and well, that it can help make a kinyan. Rabbi Yosef answers, what's the case talking about? The thief trimmed it, and therefore, because he's trimming it, he's already finishing the work, and that's a change of appearance, and that is definitely enough for the thief to make a kinyan. Okay. The question. We have a Mishnah that teaches about a tray, right? A tray is a piece of hide that basically it doesn't need more work once you designate it as a tray. On a tray does not need trimming. It's not in the Mishnah. Whenever the item does not need any more work, the thought makes it tameh. Right? But when there is more work to be done, thought does not make it tameh. Except for a tray, because a tray doesn't need any more work. It's just automatically ready once you have the hide ready to go. So we're seeing right now, seemingly, that if you make the thought on the hide makes it tameh, even where the thief did not change the hide. Right? So against what we just answered. The Gemara says, Rabbi Challenge had this problem for 22 years. It was not answered. It became the head of the yeshiva, and he answered it as follows. The change of name is as if you're changing it physically. Right? The same way you change the name, it changes it. The same way you change it physically, it becomes yours. So to changing the name, it changes it. What changes? Why does the physical change make it yours? Because in the case of a stolen item, let's say usually would #clean, now it's utensils. So it's regarding the name. Originally was just a piece of hide, and then now you made it a tray. In the case of a stolen beam that you made it into a building, the usually called a beam. Now it's considered a ceiling. The Mishnah says, someone stole a beam and he made it into a mansion. You could pay it cash. Why? Because you want to do teshuvah. The only reason why you're not required to bring back the actual item and you can just pay cash is because you want to give the guy an option of doing teshuvah and not dissuade him by making him bring back the actual beam, top of some of Zion. But if it wasn't for that, you would have to return the actual item. So we see, even though you change the name, it does not make it yours. If you would have had to bring it back, had not been for that loophole. Where it says, that's not a problem, because the cross beam is still a cross beam, even if it's in the ceiling. We're going to bring the second answer as well, but let's first the proof. Tanya the Brita says, and regarding a pasuk from Yehezkel, tzala'ot habayit, the tzala'ot of the Bet HaMikdash, elo mataltalin, this is the casings. The ubim and the ubim, elo marishot, these are the cross beams, right? So even after the cross beams are in the ceiling, they're still called cross beams. The reason everybody says another answer. A name that is a change that is reversible, meaning if I were to take the beam out of the ceiling again, it's no longer the ceiling, it's called a beam again. It is not considered a good change. That's not a good enough change. So you can't bring me a question from the case of a beam, because the beam can always revert back to a beam with the correct construction. But if it's an irreversible change, does that make it a different item? Regarding a piece of wood that you're making a pipe, the original piece of wood, then you make it into a pipe, like a spigot. It says, a pipe that you hard out from a piece of wood and then you attach it to the ground. It makes it the mikveh pasul because it's considered a utensil, right? And the mikveh is made naturally. You attach it to the ground first, which makes it natural, and then you hollow it out. Because now it's natural, it's considered part of the ground, not considered a kli. If it's considered a changing of the names, considered a different acquisition, kind of, then even if you attach it first to be pasul, it says no. The halacha of making a mikveh drawn water only, right? To have natural water, quote unquote, that's in the midrabanan, and therefore it's not a big deal. Then if that's the case, then even in the first case, where the pipe was hollowed out first, then attached, it's also be good enough. It's only drabanan. That's the words we just said. In the first case where you hollowed out first, that's considered a kli while it's unattached. But over here, since it was never made into a kli while it was disconnected from the ground, therefore it was still good enough, and it's good even according to the Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan doesn't take effect.